Welcome back, Pioneers. I have been busy working on roads, hopefully to bring you blueprints that you can use in your playthroughs. I took the most commonly used pieces that I thought from my beautiful roads setup and turned them into blueprints, trying to maximize your flexibility and minimizing the effort that you have to do. Now, this may look similar to the original roads that I did in the first video, but this was a brand new world, and I completely built these from scratch in a fraction of the time that I did the original, and I made them even more complicated. And you can do this as well with the blueprints I'm going to show you today. Almost the entire thing here was done purely from the blueprints, except for that little tiny split there where I had to do a little bit by hand. All right, we're just going to jump right in, and I'm going to show you how to use them. I've created blueprints for straight roads, ramps, curves that both go off-grid and on-grid, and a few extras. So let's get started building some roads. First things first, I've created a set of blueprints for both 3 foundation width roads and 2 foundation width roads, and they function virtually identically. So the things I demonstrated, one will work on the other. So we're going to get started with a 3-lane road. I'm just going to get a first piece going. Here's 2 straights. I have the single foundation length straight and a 4-length. These work absolutely wonderfully in blueprint snapping mode once you have a blueprint started. If you're trying to attach it to a non-blueprint, the default mode is preferred. All right, so straights are easy, no problem. Let's move on to ramps. Ramps are probably the most finicky in this set of blueprints, simply because of the way blueprint snapping works. Going up is far easier. This is a 2-meter ramp. I have both 2-meter and 1-meter versions. I did not do a 4-meter version. And as you can see, it doesn't quite snap on with default mode very easily. But blueprint mode, if you're attaching to a straight mode going upwards, blueprint mode for the bottom of the ramp attaches very easily, which is perfect. We've actually got 3 parts to each ramp. We have a bottom piece, a top piece, and a middle piece. And so now that we've got the bottom piece attached, we need to set up to do the middle of the ramps. And to do that, if we're doing 2-meter ramps, we need to set up inverse ramps. So if we're doing 2 meters, use a 2-meter inverse. If we're using 1 meter, use a 1-meter inverse. In this case, I'm doing 2-meter ramps. Go into zoop mode, and you're going to want to zoop it up from the center, not from the left or the right, from the center, how far you want it to go. So find out how far you want to go up, and use these to place this. Now, using the middle of the ramp, it's very easy. On top of these pieces, the center snapping point is always the middle of the blueprint. So in this case, you just need to line it up on each piece. Super easy to add. Don't worry about these side walls. We're going to get rid of them in a minute. Now for the top piece. Now that said, the top piece does really well when going up using the default mode. It will actually give you a decent snapping to your road where you need it to be. You'll notice a little gap in the sidewalls. That's fine and expected. And we have a nice ramp. Now we need to fix the sidewalls, so all we got to do is delete these middle pieces right here. They're kind of there for guiding. These sidewalls in the top and the bottom are set up originally in diagonal mode, so you should be able to just zoop down or up, and you'll find they line up perfectly, and you end up having great sidewalls. Now, afterwards, you can go ahead and finish the underside with the inverse ramps, or you can replace these with 2-meter ramps if you so desire. Now, also, there is a bug in blueprints with ramps. The patterns that are on there for some reason don't show up. They are there. They probably will show up on a save load, but you can pick anything you want and just hover over it, and they show up. Going down is slightly more complicated, and that's simply because of the way blueprints work. They're always based off of their height, and since the ramp has varying height, not everything wants to snap to it as it should. So like this straight piece doesn't want to snap in blueprint mode, or default mode doesn't quite show it needs to snap properly. So we need to do a little extra work to get this thing continued on. So if we wanted to go straight after this, you can delete any one of these, and we're going to add a 1-meter foundation underneath. We really just need one right there. And in this case, we can now use the 1 meter, or if you needed to do the 4 meter from here, just extend out a little bit. But if you were just doing the 1 meter, one's fine like this. All right, so now that we got a straight piece, let's assume you want to go down. I did say it's easier to go up, but we can go down. We just got to do some slightly different moves. So in this case, what we're going to do, since the blueprint, the top of the ramp won't snap to our straight road, going down as easy as going up, neither in blueprint mode or in default mode, we need to do a little bit extra to push this down. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab some foundations. You want to go down about 3 meters. And then you want to set up a little platform. Mainly in the center is really what we need, because that's where the blueprint is centered. Now that we're down 3 meters, we can switch over to the top ramp again. And as you can see, we can, using either blueprint or default, really, we can easily sort of line it up on top of this, and it will allow us to put it on where we want it to, and it looks great. The 1 meter ramp might be going down 2 meters. Going down functions kind of like going up for the middle of the part. Just add an inverse ramp to the bottom of the top, like this, in the middle, and then go down as far as you like. Don't add it to the end here. That's not where you want to be. You want to be starting here, so you're down 2 meters at the next step. So go down as far as you'd like, and then you can do the same thing, adding the mids. Super easy. So the bottom piece doesn't want to attach, kind of like the top piece did when going down like this. So we need to do a similar method to get it to line up correctly. So we're going to do single foundations again. We want to go down about 4 here, I believe. This is for the 2 meter. I believe it'd be 3 for the 1 meter. And that's simply to account for some of the space here, a 1 meter space and then 3 down. Once you got your platform, simply line up the blueprint and your bottom piece is done. Delete your support structure, delete your sidewalls, clean up your edges, fix your patterns, and a nice clean ramp. And of course, you can deal with the underside how you please. Now, there is a variation to this. You can modify the blueprint to include the lip on it, like this. I've already included the lip on both the bottom and the midpoint, and then you can literally just snap, 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 or using default mode and a little finesse, you can avoid having to do this bottom piece by hand. It does move the center point, so it takes a little bit more precise location, but it does work. Feel free to modify the blueprint when you get it to add those on if you prefer that method. I encourage you to try both. You can check out a stream that I did demonstrating this to see that method in action. I'll have that in the link in the description. Time for the curved roads. Now, with curved roads, we have 2 methods. So we're going to use the first one we're going to demonstrate is the one that goes off-grid. It uses the catwalk method to generate turns. And I demonstrated this in my original roads video, so we're not going to cover it in depth here. But I figure it is the best combination of flexibility and minimal effort involved in doing curves with the roads, based off of my original method. So the way we're going to do it is you're going to add a 1 meter foundation to the outside of the turn. I'm using fix-it foundations because they are easy to delete later, just using the filter mass delete method. Then you're going to put a catwalk at the top of this foundation, kind of like that. And each click of the catwalk does a 10-degree turn. We're only doing 10-degree turns. Turn on zoom mode and start building your turn by going 2 catwalks at a time. You can do more than 2, like 4 or 6 or 8 if you want to make even bigger turns, which is how that 2-width foundation over there was created. And just keep going until you've reached your desired location. And at the same time, the nice thing about this method is that you can quickly determine if there's a rock or a tree in the way that you want to avoid. You can look at it and decide, oh, that's not going to work. I need to backtrack, maybe go out a little further with my straight or back up with my straight. And then I can go. This allows you to very quickly template out your roads. Say, well, now that I've gone left, I need to go right to get around this thing. So you'll start on the outside again, and you'll start curving to the right, or however far you want to go. Now that you've planned out your route for the curve, simply fill in the base with whatever foundation method you're using for setup. I'm still using fix-it. Now, I've been using flight mode in this guide, but I've switched over to the hover pack, and I want to demonstrate. This is the preferred method of working with the roads. the hover pack, it does make things easier. Once you've got your base set up, now it's time to add the actual roads. To get started with this part, I generally would delete that outside one pillar. You'll understand in a second. And you want to make sure you have the correct turn. In this case, we're going left right here, so we're going to have the left template, not the right. And the longer sidewall goes in the outside. So hold control, which will help you have a little bit more control over your snapping. And you want to be in default snapping mode. And what we want is to line this up so that those sidewalls are touching. Just like that. And then we're just going to repeat that. At each point, I'm just getting those pillars just to touch, like this. And as you can see, it creates nicely connected walls. The side walls are already done. Now, you might find a piece sticking out like this. Just go ahead and delete it. And you may end up with something like this. There's a couple variations. If they're two straight pieces, just quickly attach it. So if there's a case like this where it's really close and curved, it's very simple to clean up. Just from the straight side, go out 2 meters, add a pillar, go back, delete. Now it's clean. And as you can see, curve's already done. This saves you so much time and effort compared to the original roads video. So this piece is a straight piece I added. So we're just going to add in a 1 meter straight. Just snap it on right here. Make sure we're lined up using the little lines in the foundations to get it lined up. As I mentioned before, if it's 2 straight pieces, you can just snap a piece to connect. Same with this one. This is straight and curved, but you'll notice one method will attach very easily. So it's very easy to clean up where the blueprint sort of can't fill in the gaps. And then we're going to go right. So we're just going to switch over to the right blueprint, turn around, and snap it together. Same thing here. Remove that piece, clean up your edge. 2 meters. I like deleting the beam before I do it, but you absolutely could just leave the beam there if you like. And that's it. The curve's done. Super easy. Okay, so those curves are great, but they do go off grid, and some people want to stay on grid. So I did figure out a way to keep some turns that stay on grid. And so what I'm going to show you right now, so I've set up a new straight road, and here we have a 90-degree turn. This turn will stay on grid, and it snaps pretty well to the roads. You can't use blueprint mode because it is a big 4x4 versus the 3 width. But default snapping mode does work. You just got to line up that inside pillar. And you get an on-grid 90-degree turn that, for the most part, works. Maybe after a little finesse. Now, it doesn't have the edges of the very last parts of the sidewall just due to the limitations of the blueprint, but I've set it up to be as easy as possible for you to finish off. Just add a pillar here, and here you got a nice, if you didn't have a pillar here, I set up this beam here as a template. And there you go, finished sidewall. And just repeat that on the other side, and now you have a 90-degree turn on grid, and I can demonstrate that because we'll attach a foundation here. And as you can see, it is on grid. You can't quite blueprint snap, unfortunately, so just use the default mode. And straight you go. Nice, easy 90-degree turn. And just like the 3-width foundation turns, I have the same one for 2-width foundation roads. Which, as you can see, starts on grid, ends on grid. Same process. Now, we have a few extras. Besides some signs, which are down at the bottom, which are raised up by 1 meter so they can easily sit on the sidewall. I have an additional set of blueprints, which are these, which I call these merger splitters for your roads. Now, the easiest way to add these is to remove some sidewalls from a straight road, and then, like other things, start with some foundations on the side like this. This gives you an ability to sort of fine-tune where you want it to go. Now, whether you're a right side driver or a left side driver, you can pick the blueprints you need based off of the direction you're driving. And then you can just use these foundations that you put to slide the merger where you need it, and just use the sidewalls as sort of your lineup point. So you can find out where you want it. And this creates a 50-degree turn. It starts with a 45-degree turn, but since all the catwalks only do 10-degree turns, and I didn't want you to have to deal with that extra 5 degrees, I rotated these an extra 5 degrees, so it turns at 50 degrees, so your catwalks can easily come back around at right angles to your roads. These do use the 2-width foundation roads, so if you were doing on and off ramps like my demonstration road that I set up, you can then use default snapping mode and stuff to attach on the 2-width and do your turns and ramps just like the 3-width foundation roads. Afterwards, clean up your sidewalls. Remove your excess. You can do the underside however you like. And then you can go off on your off ramp and go where you want to go. So over here, I created this little loop just for funsies. And I'm going to show you how to do a merger. So let's say you came in with your road like this and you were really close. Hopefully you'd be a little further back and have more straight, but this is where it is. And you need to be able to merge onto this road in as clean a manner as possible. So you would clear off some sidewall just like before, add some foundations like that. I also recommend having some foundations like this to help you identify the angle. This way, you want to make sure you're coming in at a 50-degree angle. You can kind of look at this ahead of time and make sure that you're lining up just by using the merger and kind of like going and seeing if your angle is right. But you want to come in at that 50-degree angle. You don't have to, but you have to do more custom work. But if you come in at a 50-degree angle, you'll be able to get as close as possible. And as we can see here, I can use this sidewalls. I can slide this along in 1 meter increments, and I can get the pillars as close as possible. Get to the closest possible alignment. Like this. As we can see here, it's pretty close. And so what I would do is simply delete one, and then use the methods from my original guide to properly snap these pieces. And with that, you can clean up the edge, and the merger comes on, and it looks clean, and you can't tell that it was off by a little bit. That's an easy way to line it up. That said, there is another method to do this, which can make this a little easier, but that means we're going to have to use something a little bigger to make this doable. I would use a 4-meter foundation. You could do this with less and come out just like before with the 4-meter. And then what we're going to use is a large pillar. I would generally put it, the snapping point I find is somewhere in the middle here. So if you use pillars like this, now that we have pillars as our base, we can act like other things where we get a lot more free range of motion. And so if we pick our template, we can actually find that we no longer have to worry about those 1 meter snapping points, and it kind of slides along the pillar where we need it to go. And with that, we can actually line up our roads using that center line really close, just like that. And you don't have to do any work at all. It's already done for you that way. How easy is that? That is an easy way to merge on, and you don't have to worry about lining everything up. That's fan-friggin-tastic. So that's mergers. All right, so that's about everything with how to build the roads, but I want to show you one more thing, and that's how you can customize the roads to be your own and how you can add your own Lego pieces. So we're going to put down a blueprint designer however you like, and let's say you want to build a road that has 4 or 8 meters underneath it so that you can customize the bottom of it. Well, in that case, let's, using a pillar in the very center, let's come up 8 meters per se. Then we could take our original road blueprint, say like the 4 meter by the 4 foundation width run, center it on your blueprint. Now we have a road with 8 meters of space underneath it that we can customize to do whatever we want. But once you've got that done, you can start coming up with different variants, such as this one, where I used 2 sidewalls. I put some walls in the center. I used some pillars to get them lined up with how a foundation would be. I added some inverse ramps, some wall connectors, spots for belts, spots for pipes. And this becomes an easy template. Or I did this one as well for fun, which is similar to the one we just did, 8 meters of space, and then I created it so you could actually fit some train tracks in it. Don't put train tracks in your blueprints. They will not connect together, but I put them in here just to demonstrate how it would look with train tracks in it, and it fits fine. So you can fit trains hiding underneath your roads if you so desired. So you can customize them however you see fit. Just load them in the Blueprint Designer, plan out how you want to do it, and put the road blueprint right on top of it. I'd really love to see what you all come up with, how you do it, what other Lego pieces that you can come up with for these roads. One other example of a Lego piece that I came up with is this road arch, maybe if you want to do trains over your roads. And it's a single piece of straight, and it comes with this arch over it. Makes it easy to add in where you need to in your roads. I'm sure there's other styles that people could come up with. I used the foundations on top of this because you can snap your train tracks to them, unlike the pillars. So that's about it for the roads. I'd love to hear your questions and comments. I'm going to make sure these are available on my Discord. For one, they'll be in the Blueprints channel. There's probably going to be an original version that I released before this video and a newer version that I'm going to release after this video. I'm also going to try to make sure they're available on the Satisfactory calculator and other Blueprint sites, and I'll make sure there's links in the descriptions when those are available there, but they will be available on my Discord right away at the release of this video. When you download and add the blueprints to your save, they will show up in the undefined section, but here is how I would organize them. You can try organize them however the way you like. I added a slightly different color for the 2 foundation width roads. That way it's a little more easily distinguished. These pre-turned ones, they are road pieces that are already pre-turned. So if you have straight foundations, you can just come, instead of doing the catwalk method, if you don't want to deal with it, you can literally just have, you just add some foundations below where you're going to put it. And then you could basically do the same thing. It just aligns on it. But you have to do that every step. So after every step, you have to add basically a new piece. And then it makes it is easy to do. So if you prefer that, those turn methods are there. Then you just got to delete the little pieces sticking out and fix them up like before. But I think the catwalk method is a little easier for planning, and you don't have to go up and down as much. But I did leave it there if you like those. If you don't, you can just remove them from your blueprints. All right, so that's it for the roads. If you guys, I would love to see what you do, come up with for your own roads and customizations. Post them on my Discord. I would love to do maybe a video later that highlights some of the best and my favorite. I'll also do an additional video in the future with some additional tips and tricks based off of comments that I get in this video. So feel free to ask your questions. I'm also available in my Discord. That's it. Thanks for watching. Enjoy your roads. I can't wait to see what you come up with. See you next time.